Florida's real estate market is in trouble and almost no one is talking about it. Our housing market is unraveling, and while May's numbers are alarming, what's even more shocking and the bigger picture is that Florida is facing a demographic collapse. We are seeing organic population decline, as well as an 80% drop in domestic migration, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video. This isn't just a market correction, it's a full-scale shift. Guys, my name is Ed Zoller with Villa Realty Group, been a real estate agent for 25 years, been doing these market updates ever since 2002, and stopped in 26, up until 2016, and started doing them in 2021 when the market got a little wonky. Started doing videos since 2023, and you guys can see all of that on Lee County marketupdate.com. In this video, I'm going to break down the data, the graphs, and the hard truths other agents won't say out loud. Whether you're buying, selling, or just keeping an eye on the market, this is the update you can't afford to miss. If you like this material, you can hit that like button, subscribe for the latest Florida market insights, and let's just dive right in. We go straight to inventory, supply and demand. Supply, something to take note if you haven't seen my videos before. Our inventory is very methodical. We hit lows and then we go up. We build our inventory for season. Season is usually January to Easter, or they used to say used to be Thanksgiving to Easter, but yeah, January to May, our inventory builds up, and then when all the buyers come down here, and you see this on the demand graph, the inventory goes down. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. It always peaks in the same months. Now, this happened when it went down. As it was starting to go up, COVID happened, 2020, and the inventory did nothing but go down. There was a maximum amount of expireds, withdrawns, and terminated throughout the entire country. I think the total was 5.5 million homes never sold. They just got pulled from the market because of fear and because of COVID. And so when you have low inventory, just like in 05 when we had too much demand, when you have very little supply, what happens? Price goes up. And so we had no inventory, less than 2,000 homes altogether in the entire county. That's 5 cities. And then we started going back up in 2022. Looked like we kind of had this little bit of a hump like it started here. But then look, sure enough, we hit March, peak just like these other previous years, and we have started to go down. We have lost. Inventory went down 6.6%. That's actually a positive thing for the market correcting. We don't need 14,000 units for sale. 13,000 is great, but guys, where did the 900 homes go? This is a question I dived a little deeper, and we're going to get to that in the next slide. But right now, our inventory is 28% higher than last year for May. Our surplus of homes over our long-term average is like 79% more homes than we even need. And just something to consider, that when inventory is starting to go down, you think that the prices would start going up, but it's going down because our demand historically goes down during this time as well. Of all these homes for sale, 67% are single family homes, 25% are condos, and the rest are townhomes, villas, and manufactured homes. But one thing I saw was of this inventory, 2,025 of the existing inventory are new construction. That is 16%. Of our inventory is, and that's an increase from last month. But what's funny is it's a third of our sales. So let's get to the 900. Where did 1,000 homes go? Where do you think? Well, this is a new graph I'm going to start doing for my market updates. If you guys don't know the difference between withdrawn, expired, and terminated, they all have the same results. Someone went up for sale, and now they're no longer for sale. But they didn't sell, they just took themselves off. Now, when agents list a home, they're going to have the seller and the agency will sign an agreement to say, give me 6 months, give me 2 months, give me 1 year. If you're ever getting a guy saying 2 years, don't sign it. When that expiration date hits, the house comes off the market because the time with that agent has expired. That's expired. Withdrawn usually means that the house did not hit the expiration date. The seller just voluntarily wanted to pull himself on the market, so the agent kind of hijacks the home and says, you can't do anything with this home market-wise. You can't use another agent until my time frame expires. And so they withdraw it. Either way, it still goes off the market. And terminated, that is the actual way when someone says, I'm done with you, I'm done with selling my home, and I am never going to sell it again, or not even our time frame expired, but just we're done. They terminate the listing. When I looked, guys, where did the 900 homes go? Well, last month we had a record high of withdrawn, expireds, and terminated. We had like 1,700 of them. We went to 2,261 in the month of May. That's 550 more listings than even last month's high, which was super high since 2009. We haven't seen levels like this since 2009. It's what our market needs. Get all these overpriced, upside down, and unrealistic sellers off the market. If you are a seller and you want to get $400,000 for your $300,000 home, this isn't your market. Don't flood the market with your house when you're not getting any showings, not getting activity, and you're not really motivated to sell. Just go off the market. Bring our inventory down. It'll help us get there faster. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, God, we have 900 less listing. Where'd they go? That's where they went. 2,261 homes took themselves off the market. So let's talk about demand. And as I talked about, the inventory goes up, hits a peak, and then March, the big boomy time, our season, we call it, in quotes, is where demand reaches its peak. And you can see here, I have circled every peak of this mountain. And as I drew this trend line here, look at the trend. It is continuously going down. If this was a stock or a company and you saw a low, a high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, 4 consecutive years, and then a lower low, and then another lower high on the 5th consecutive year, what do you think? Fill in the blank. What do you think is going to happen to the next low? Well, the thing about this low of this year, January, is that was a 40-year low. That's a little different than just being a low of the decade or a low of the 100 years. That's a low of 40-year low. And why is that? Well, interest rates went up. When I'm writing this, 6.97% conventional loan financing, that is higher by a quarter point than it was even last month. That's not going to make buyers jump out of the woodworks, and that's definitely going to help slow down the market when that kind of stuff happens. Our sales, even though we hit a peak, look at how low that peak is. That didn't even hit the average. All these previous years, the peak of our market, above the average, above the average, above the average, slightly above the average, and then not even getting close. I was hoping it would break even just my little trend line I drew. It didn't even hit that, and it's already on its way down. And what do you think is going to happen? Well, history will tell you that for the next till September, October, November, December, all the way until the end of this year, demand's going to keep going down. But we're starting from 1,200, which means that we have a very good potential of breaking another 40-year record this year alone. 30% of the sales were new construction. It's the incentives these builders are offering. And we're going to go over a little bit of some real-time things. But sales down 7%. We had 3 consecutive double-digit increases of sales. That was a positive thing. That's more than 10% increase in demand. That was all these little bullet points here. Boom, 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 boom. And then we just went from double-digit increase down to a 7% loss. It's a pretty drastic swing. But as you can see, every time we hit our peak, it's a pretty drastic swing, especially this one that was in 2022, right when our market started to turn. But definitely a slowdown of new construction will help our market in the long run. But did they slow down their construction? We'll take a look at that. Average home price, very, very important. As I've circled here, we all know 05, 06 was a boom. I wanted to show this trend line here. This is taking into effect average income of Lee County. This is what houses should be with what the income is at the time. So it's a true statement that the average person can buy the average home in the average area. And if they were at this trend line, this is what the average person can afford for, this is what the price of the home should be for them to afford it with their average income. And there was a time here in 09 all the way until 2015 that you got a better home. You're an average wage earner. You made 44 grand a year. Oh my God, you're buying a pool home. Above average home, above average locations, above average size. And then come 2017, 2018, look how it just hit that track and just became super steady. I mean, 5-6 years of just, you make average income, you can buy the average home. And then look what happened with COVID. Boom, boom city, way up there. Average home price went up to $400,000. Can the average person afford that? No. So what's happening? Look at the graph. It is going back down. And just, I circled both of these peaks because this looks like a bigger bubble than this one. If that's a bubble, what is this? Where do you think this is going to go? Now, look at history. When last time it went above that, it went back down. It hit that little track where it should have stabilized, but it didn't. It overshot it. Again, all the way back down here, and then got on track. And so what do you think is going to happen this next turnaround? Probably the same exact thing. Probably going to hit this trend right here where the average home price is $250 and probably overshoot that, stabilize, become affordable, more people buy homes, choose up the inventory, we get back on track, and everything should be fine. Average home value went down 1.73% in just this month. So times 12, you can kind of get the idea. And this is taking consideration very low sales. 1,200 sales, but 124 of them. I mean, that's like 10%, right? Am I doing that math right? Yeah. Sold for over $1 million. As a matter of fact, we had a $10.9 million home on Bonita Beach that sold this month. Kudos to that person to buy that much. But when you have these kind of big figures, 124 million, 134 million dollars of $1 million homes that sold, it's going to swing this price. So do I think that's really the average home price, 350? No, I think it's a lot lower than that. But you're going to keep consistent to make your graph, and so that's home prices. Home prices down. So why aren't the buyers coming here? With all these incentives I've been talking about with these builders, it comes down to this. In my opinion, one of the most important graphs to look at if you want to know what the market's like. This is the house payment as a percentage of the average household income for Lee County. And it went down. That's good. It was at 39%, and now it's at 38%. But think of this. What does that mean? 38% of your gross income going to a mortgage? Is that affordable? Well, look at here. Look at what it was when it was affordable. From 2009 all the way to 2022, the average person with the average income didn't go even above 26. Only one time in 2018 when the interest rates went up briefly and then went back down again. They hover around 24 to 26% of your gross income going to a mortgage. That's sustainable, that is affordable, and this is the affordability graph. But look at what happened in 0506. Wasn't sustainable and wasn't affordable. And what did it do? It crashed right back down, got back on track, and was like that for a decade plus. And then COVID happened. We went up to 48% of your gross income. Imagine half your gross income, not even what you bring home, just your gross income going to a mortgage. Can't afford that, nor can you sustain that. And now it's going back down. But look at this month. The income went up. It went down slightly on the graph purposes. It needs to get back towards 25 and 26%. But here's where this graph becomes important. What should the monthly payment of an average house be? Well, it should be $1,729 based on $74,100 of average household income in Lee County. But what is the average home even at $350? It's $2,366. 37% overinflated. Does that mean prices go down 37%? No, because your monthly payment is a lot more than just price. It's interest, taxes, insurance, PMI, you name it, flood insurance. You add all that into there. If any one of those go down, or a majority of them, or all of them, if interest rates go down and price goes down and insurance goes down and the taxes go down, expect that in November. It will happen. You might say it never goes down. It does. It definitely went down here from 2008, 9, 10, 11 until it bottomed out. Then it stayed put. So we are going to have 3 years of reprieve with the taxes going down. Not enough to really offset and make this thing, but any closer to 1,700 we can get, either by waiting for all those things to happen, or forcing a seller who's super motivated to make that happen. I want $1,700, $1,800, Ed, and I'm going to wait for it. And if you can make it, great. If you can't, I'll wait. And in my opinion, it's going to go there. It always has. So why is it going to be any different now? So this is the important graph to always look at. I'm always going to have this graph on there, as well as this graph as well. People want to know, are we stabilized yet? Well, last time we crashed, when our house, the home value index was going up 3% a month, and we went down to negative 3% a month. We were not stable anywhere near this line on the way back down. It's not until it went back up. And if you notice here, it hit the zero line not once, but twice, but 3 times before it finally showed its stabilization. That's how long it took. It took like a year and a half for the market to finally really stabilize, about 2012, and then it made its way back up again. Got a little wonky in that 2018 when they tried to raise interest rates briefly, and then boom, boom, city again. Even more than going up more per month than we even did in our last financial boom due to COVID and the inventory drop. And then look at what's happened now. Look at the current thing. It is getting farther and farther away. Very important this month. We hit negative 1% per month. That's 12% average if it keeps this rate. Look at all the other ones. 0.6, 0.6, 0.6. That's supposed to be 0.8. We're going gradually up the last 5 months, but we finally hit that negative 1, and we have not seen negative 1% per month since 2010. Isn't that funny? I keep going back to 9 and 10, all these numbers. That is 22 consecutive months. This rate here from 2006 to 2012, that 6 years, that was 59 consecutive months until we finally stabilized. We are going on 22 consecutive months. So are we affordable? No. Are we stabilized? getting further away from that. So let's look at the stats from May to June. Yep, there's those 924 homes gone, 6% drop, but also a 7% drop of sales. Now, we knew that was going to happen last month because I looked at the pending sales. Pending sales are houses that go off the market. And when I saw 1,854 pending sales, I knew because that was much lower, 150 homes lower than the previous month, that we were going to go down. And sure enough, look at, we went down 100 homes. So 1,854 homes went down to 1,704. What do you think the sales are going to be like next month? Are they going to be more? No. If the pendings are down, the sales next month are going to be down. New construction for sale, even with all these incentives and these rockin' deals that I'm getting from these builders of getting $100,000 off, $250,000 off a home, give me 70 grand off plus 50 grand of incentives, and they do it. They're still building homes. There's still homes going up off the ground. They have to. That's what they do. They build homes. They can't not build homes. So these are homes that they decided to build last year and a half ago. And now they're just finishing everything up. So they actually, builders gained 31 homes just in the last month, even with all these, quote, sales incentives. Average time went up a day. Now you're going to track that. This is the average time on the houses sit on the market. Don't think it just takes 2 months to sell a home, because a lot of these sales that you're seeing from builders, they never even hit the market. They just go immediately sold one day. So you get a lot of those 0 days and 1 days that are definitely going to skew that. In reality, the true average time on market, it's about 130 days in Cape Coral. Every city is going to be a little bit different, but just to give you an idea, it might take 4 or 5 months to sell your home if you're a seller out there. Median asking price went down 1%. Obviously, the selling price went down as well. And the asking price, I always think it's funny that we're hovering around that 6% off full price. Here's why. Because when people do something that's called a 10% down conventional loan, or a Federal Housing Administration FHA first-time home buyer loan, the maximum a lender will allow a seller to contribute to that buyer is 6%. Isn't that funny that we're always hovering around 94%, 93.9%? Sellers are giving up concessions. They're buying down rates. They're doing whatever they can do because it's better for them to buy down the rate, because as a buyer, I'd rather have 10 grand in rate buy down, saving me $300 a month, than 10 grand off the price, saving me $50 a month. Doesn't make any sense. 6 to 7 to 1 ratio, or at least 5 times more beneficial to get a seller to pay that. So right now, every single contract I'm seeing to my sellers, they're asking for the max amount, and if they're not, they're done. Are we in a buyer's market? Of course we are. You take the sales for the month, you take the total inventory of 13,000. We got 10 months of inventory, and look at this from last month. We're just kind of staying steady. We did go into the crazy BOGO, and I didn't even know what to name 18 months of inventory. That's because we had such record low sales in January, 40-year low, and we still had a ton of inventory. But I think it's going to hover around this 10 months for quite a while. And when you are in a buyer's market, expect price reductions. As you see here. Now, last month, we broke our record, like a 15-year record of having 39.9% price reductions. Our long-term average is 22. We did go down to 32. It dropped us from the 3rd worst in Florida to the 8th worst in Florida. You can still see, but look at Tampa. 37% price cuts. Punta Gorda, 37%. Northport, 35%. The Villages, 35%. Jacksonville, 30%. Hey, welcome Jacksonville to the price reduction list. Homosassa Springs, 33%. Palm Bay, 33%. And there we are at 32.5%. And then Deltona underneath us. So it's funny that when we broke our record of 39.9%, which we would be leading right now if that was this month, but we were not even number one back then. So people drop prices because there's too much inventory. They drop prices because they really want to sell. And so that kind of tells me that 30+% of the inventory out there are probably motivated sellers. And with 2,200 expiring or withdrawing in the last month, that tells me that's at least a 1 out of 6 are overpriced. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's out there when you see the inventory. This is what I was hinting at when I talked about a demographic collapse and an organic population decline. These are 2 graphs I want you to pay attention to, and this is the new thing for this May. We've always heard that people come down to Florida. You're in a snow state. You're in New York. You're in New Jersey. You're in Boston. You're in Michigan. And we've got 8 states that come here all the time. We don't get a lot of Californians here, but we get a lot of snow states coming down here because we never snow. And look at the 80% drop in the last 2 years of domestic migration. We only gained 64,000 people. We have not seen that number. Not even in 2011 we gained more than that. We haven't seen that number since 2010. of when we were that low, and it's on the way down. That was when we were on the way up. Last time it went down, we even exceeded the amount of domestic migration we've had. This is for Florida, not just for Southwest Florida, but just consider this. We lost 80% of people. Why aren't they coming? We're not affordable, not stable. Makes sense, right? Maybe they can't sell their home up there. If they're truly from New York, they're actually going through a seller's market. One of the very few states is the New England states and the Northeast area still going through a seller's market, but not a lot of the states in the United States are still going. California's dropping, Texas, Colorado, you name it. They're all having their price drops, their inventory increases, and their price reductions. So I guess they could come here and sell their home for a bunch of money. But when you have migration loss like this is what real estate is. Real estate's about people. Buyers, sellers are people. We need buyers to chew up our inventory. We want buyers coming down here. But when you have an 80% drop, just like we had back in 0506 and hit negative migration where we lost more people, that's a problem. Now look at this. Now there is a stat out there that is actually called organic population decline. And I think this is a little to do with the country, but I did look at Florida. It looks at birth rate, death rate. A 1 means that one person died, one person was born. We, since COVID, have been under that line. And this has not happened. You'd have to go back a long, long time. I mean, this is going back to 1991. We've always been over 1.47 people born for every one person that died. It almost hovered around that, 1.2 to 1.4 for, God, 2-3 decades. And then we dropped come 2020, and we went down to 0.83 borns for every death, and now we're at 0.96. This is people having babies. And now you'd say, Ed, we would care about babies. They're not going to buy a home for another 24 at least years. But guys, why do people sell homes? There's 3 reasons. The house is too big, too small, or something sucks. This is what I always said. Your house sucks, the city sucks. I want to be about. That's those people. But the people having kids are moving up and upgrading their home. They need a bigger home to have more bedrooms. When you lose your kids, you downgrade, right? So I thought this was interesting. I looked up by county. First and foremost, our domestic migration is the 5th worst in 35 years. But let's add to the fact that Lee County, Florida, ranks the 3rd worst county in Florida and the 7th worst county for what's called the percentage of children present in a household at 20%. That's 1 out of 5 homes have kids. What does that mean? That means people aren't going to be upgrading. They're not going to be selling their homes. They're not going to be buying the bigger homes. This is actually going to change our demographic. Because our average age, I remember it used to be like Cape Coral was called Cape Coma, newlyweds and nearly deads. Average age was like 50-something, 60-something years old. It was just retirees. And then our average age went down to like 41, 40. And all of a sudden we had a bunch of schools go up and a bunch of people have kids and things are great. Especially that boom of 05, 06. When my youngest daughter was born was 05. I was kind of part of that little baby boom thing. No baby boom anymore. Call it generational. Maybe kids just aren't having kids anymore. Or at least for Florida, at least for Lee County. I thought 7th worst county in the country. I mean, we're just above D.C. There's no kids in D.C. And I'd hate to say it, Lee County is going to become like that. May not feel like it, but I thought that was very interesting that we are among the worst counties for children presence down here, which is going to make the average age go up, and it's going to change what the builders build. You think the builders are going to build big homes and 2-story homes and homes meant for kids? They're going to build more condos. They're going to build more townhomes, more, we cut your grass for you. We're going to build more villas and attached villas and littler homes, smaller homes. And that's going to change us a little bit. Just something that people aren't talking about. But I just thought it was very interesting. For the last 4 years, we've had, just last year we had 7,000 less people born versus dying. And our average age is going to go up. And that's going to be a problem for future demand. But right now, that domestic migration, that's now demand. And if we're seeing an 80% drop with no stop in sight, I'm really going to be interested to see how this goes, because we need buyers to buy up all this inventory. Look at all that inventory for Florida. Look at how we just averaged around 130,000 to 150,000 at the peak, 120,000 for 4 or 5 years, and then COVID happened, and all the inventory disappeared in all of Florida. This isn't Lee County, this is all of Florida. And now we have 182,000 units for sale. This ranks Florida the #1 state with the most inventory in the country. We are a big state, but Texas is bigger. California is bigger. Alaska doesn't count, even though it's bigger. There's not a lot of homes there. But you get the idea, guys. We have the most houses for sale, and we're having the less migration. And we're not having people with kids. This is all starting to add up, start to make sense. When we get affordability back in line, people will come. And that's when we're going to see the demographics change, and we're going to get maybe some younger people and some more jobs and some more companies and everything else. But this is just looking at the future of real estate. So let's overview the data. May, officially end of season. Our season, gone. Snowbird's coming down? Nope. Snowbird is someone that lives up in the snow and comes down here because we don't snow. Sold homes went down. It broke a 3 consecutive months of double-digit increase in demand. I was so hopeful that that was going to continue, but obviously it plummeted in May. We had the lowest sales for a May in over a decade and a half, and probably in the top 10 lowest months ever of 1,200 sales. Now, January of this year, we had 700 sales. I'd hate to think that we're going to break that this year, what that's going to look like. But demand did decrease. Pending sales went down again, showing a slowing of the market. The home value growth is still under the stabilization line, and we are not affordable. And the big discount for builders, I think, are only going to get bigger, as they have to, because no one's buying right now. So advice for buyers, patience, 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 patience to infinity. I keep saying this. If you have patience, wait. Don't catch the falling dagger. Let it turn to a feather. If you want $1,750 a month, just say, I want $750 a month. Let's get you started. Let's get you so you're in a buying mode. And then we just wait until the house of your dreams that you can afford, that you are going to love and stay in for the next 7 to 10 years, turns into $1,700 a month. It's not about a certain price. It's about interest rate, price, taxes, insurance. And we just wait till that happens. If you believe, just looking at data, that we are 18% overvalued, and that's what the charts say, then instead of waiting for $350 to become $287, you can just make the monthly payment like it's even less than $287 by doing these buy downs and these special interest rate incentives these builders are offering. That's the ticket. And this is what the used market doesn't get. And this is why they're all dropping off the market. They can't compete with builders. They don't have the dough. They don't have the money. Even if they have the equity, they can't even offer more than 6%. These builders are offering 6% concessions to closing costs, buy downs, and they're offering 4.99 for free on top of that, which would cost you and I about $25,000 to $30,000. That's a lot of money to buy down a rate to 4.99 or 4.875. But it's what the builders are going to have to do because they have to sell. This is that example from last month. A true example. Mom and daughter, $360. Hey, to make this monthly payment what the mom and daughter could afford, we're going to need $70,597 off the price. They did it. We're going to need 4.99% interest rate, which cost them $25,000. They did it. We want the epoxy floor because you advertised for it. Okay. And we're going to want $17,400 in closing costs, not the $12,000 you're giving me, because we're going to use all that money to make that monthly payment exactly what they want. 20% off the asking price, 13% off the last sale from 2 months ago. Look at this sale, $333 for a 1,900 square foot 4.2. I got a 4.3, 2,174 square foot home for $290. That was just February this year. And this was April, so 2 months later. Patience worked. Patience worked. Advice for sellers, obviously our season's over. If you're waiting for buyers to come, they're going to trickle in, but they're not going to be the big boom. You're going to have to wait until January, until our next cycle. But how much fake equity that you gained during COVID are you going to lose? Because that fake equity is not going to be there for much longer. We're losing all that COVID equity. So if you bought in 2021, 2022, 2023, this is what I'm talking about down here. If you feel you're upside down, if you feel yet you bought your home for $330 and now the houses are selling for $290 and you got to go, you're not going to have to cough up $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 at closing. You can do what I used to do 17 years ago. Hadn't done one since, except for last year I did 3, and this year alone I've done 2 of them, where you pay nothing, you get out from under it, no judgment, no deficiency, walk away like it never happened, because you have to go. If you don't have to go, don't do it, because you're going to mess your credit up a little bit, but you won't have any penalties other than that. And so if you have any questions on that, my number's at the end of this presentation. It's also in the description down below on the video. But we do have to market differently here. I do have a comprehensive marketing plan. I am selling my listings. It's about updating the sellers, if not weekly, about everything. I track things like how many people raised their hands, how many people looked at it, how many people commented on it, how long they're on your picture is important, because if it's only on for 2 seconds, they swiped. That means they didn't like you. They didn't like your price. I want to look at all of that data, because that data tells us whether we're in the ballpark or if they're being marketed right or what buyers are out there. Buyers are buying. Obviously, 1,200 sales happened, and they're not all new construction. Two-thirds of them were not. So just if you're thinking of selling a home, this is where I'm at to discuss with you. Come and have a consult. And if you are listed, I'll just offer this up. I'm a real estate consultant, so I don't have to be an agent for you. You could just say, Ed, what's wrong with my listing? I'll take a look. I'll give you some opinions. I'm never going to blame anything, nor can I give you my suggestions on what to do with it. But if you want to bounce something off me as a friend of mine or one of my YouTube subscribers, just give me a call and I'll take a look and I'll probably tell you exactly what's wrong with it. The data I get, I did bold up the things that I use the most. Obviously, the Census Bureau was a big one for this one, Southwest Florida MLS. And if you guys ever need anything, if you are a buyer, are thinking of being a buyer, or want to be a buyer in the next 2-3 years, it's never bad to start getting ready now. How much money do I need down, Ed? Well, you don't need any, but let's talk about why you may want to have some. What kind of credit do I need? I fix credit for free. You call me, I fix your credit. I've done it to 350 teachers in a row in the last 6 years under my Teachers Come By Homes program. This is the website I turn people to because that's where all my testimonials are. I'll be fixing their credit, making them buyers since 2016. You fill out a quick 3-minute survey when you go there to apply, and it's going to tell me everything I need to know to have a phone call with you. If you're a seller or a buyer and just want to call me outright, my cell phone for you to take is right there. Call me up. I will pick up. Video of Dave that I talked about 1 and 2 videos ago. He gave me a call. I picked up. We talked. He ended up buying a home, saved $250,000. LeeCountyMarketUpdate.com, where you can see every one of these videos as well as the PowerPoint to download yourself. If you just want to you rather read and not be read to, go to LeeCountyMarketUpdate.com. Guys, I thank you for taking this time. This is a very important video. I wanted to address a lot of things, so it's a little bit on the longer side. I hope to talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.